The Method at Garland, real talk for real people. This is your announcer, MCCC Caroline Knoll, coming straight at you from First United Methodist Church. And if you're excited like I am to be here, make a joyful noise. This episode of The Method is presented to you by the youth and young adults. It's time for the talking to begin. You're listening to The Method at Garland, real talk for real people.
Welcome to The Method. I'm Ethan, your host for today's episode. MCCC?
Yes, Ethan?
We're going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about something that affects us all in some way.
So, Ethan, you're not going to give us more of a hint than that?
No, MCCC. But I will tell our listeners about the history of our show. The Method at Garland is based on the 22 questions of personal reflection of the founders of the Methodist movement in Great Britain and America when they were students at Oxford. Each show topic is something pertaining to these questions. Today's questions is Holy Club question number 5. Am I a slave to dress, friends, work, or habits? So today we present the method to addressing greed.
That's going to be an interesting conversation.
MCCC, tell me what your definition of greed is.
Greed is wanting too much.
This episode of The Method is about something we can all put our 2 cents in on. We're going to talk about greed. As a nation, are we obsessed with obtaining power and wealth? The concept of greed in many religions is a bad thought. It doesn't matter whether it is Western or Eastern. Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, according to their doctrines, all agree that greed is bad. Now, not all people of faith follow that doctrine. Greed starts wars, fosters crimes, and depletes people's morals. This is serious because greed has become a global epidemic. I know that we all have our own opinion and definition of greed. Let's hear some popular quotes from famous people on greed so the talking can begin. There's a very fine line between loving life and being greedy for it. Dr. Maya Angelou. The riskiest thing you can do is get greedy. Lance Armstrong, former Tour de France champion. Here's our last quote from a famous person. We are in danger of destroying ourselves by our greed and stupidity. We cannot remain looking inwards at ourselves on a small and increasingly polluted and overcrowded planet. Stephen Hawking. MCCC, what do you think about what I just said?
I think that our greed, like those quotes said, they break a lot of relationships. When we want more than is healthy for us, it hurts our bodies, it hurts our relationships, it hurts our earth. I do think there's something good to be said about having desire for things, because if not, we just all be lazy and not accomplish anything. We want to have drive. What we got to watch is when that drive takes over, gets out of control, and becomes selfish. How about our audience here? What do you think about greed?
My question is, can greed be a good thing? Can we be greedy to do good, not instead of being greedy to do bad, maybe? Instead of looking at it as a negative, see it as more of a positive. Would that be a good way of looking at greed? What you think, Randy?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting concept to think about what are the elements that make turn desire, turn drive from a healthy thing to greed. And I think a lot of it has to do with, understanding our motivation. If you understand your motivation to why you desire or why you have a drive for something, you can discern if it is a good thing to feel that way about or if it's a bad thing. And I think a lot of times when it becomes self-centered, when it becomes something that is more for selfish motivation instead of general good, then you're going to find yourself falling more in the category of the negative. But what about some of you youth, some of you young adults in here? What are some of your thoughts on the whole concept of greed as compared to desire or drive? Do you have any thoughts?
Greed is kind of this thing. I think greed and desire are two totally different things. Greed is something more that's not as deep, and it can seriously harm you and other people. When you think about it, it's because if you want more than what you have, or you want more of something, desire, it's just simply wanting something, and it's a little bit deeper in meaning than it was if it was just for greed.
Wanting more than you need, wanting more than is healthy for you to have. And because anything can become a negative, even positive things become negative when you take it to that extreme.
Yeah, I believe that in order to have greed, you have to have desire. And greed is like a darker form of desire where it can cause hatred.
You're going all Darth Vader on me over there, are you?
I know.
Going to the dark side. Okay, no, that's good, though. I mean, really, that's a lot of what some of the concepts that they deal with in that whole Star Wars series is when does desire, when does passion turn to something negative, turns to something that goes to the dark side. So that's a good way to put it. Let me ask you a little different. What is something that drives you? What is something that you're passionate about?
So one of the things I'm most passionate about is basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And not normally, I'm a team player, so I'm not always looking to score. I look to give other people the ball. But then the rare chances that I do just drive and score, everyone calls me a ball hog, and I'm being greedy, but I'm sharing the ball with all of you. I see an open opportunity for me to do me instead of helping everyone else, and it just...
Team sports is a great place for us to understand and learn about this whole concept too, because everyone needs to do their part. Everyone needs to use their abilities and skills for a team to do well, but you also need to depend on the other skills. So that's a tricky balance. It's funny, I'm sure it's helping the team when they're the person doing it, but it's a ball hog when it's someone else not passing to them. So yeah, that gets into individual definitions sometimes. But what else? What are some other things that make you passionate or that drive you?
So one of the things I'm passionate about is my family. And so I find myself getting greedy with my time with them, if that makes sense. I don't want other people to spend what little bit of time I have with, them, especially my kids, because they grow up so fast and you don't have that time and when they get older. So I think that's one of those ways where you can kind of look at it as a positive because you're spending that time with your family, but it can also backfire on you too, because then sometimes, you can push too hard.
I'm going to ask you a question. What is an example of greed that you can personally relate to?
I like eating a lot of birthday cake. That's greedy.
Yeah. That's true. How are young people your age? How do you see greed acted out in people your age's lives?
Money, they just want it, and whenever they do chores, they always want to raise, but they just want to do the same little chore and not want to do anything else for more.
I guess if you kind of look at little children, I guess they really don't know what greed means, but they kind of just want everything that they see.
Okay, just a general desire to just grab everything just because you want it and you see it there.
A lot of kids, my age especially, it's they want to do things, and there are things that they don't want to do. I think greed is more of taking things at an advantage. You don't take things very seriously. And, we actually discussed this in Sunday school. There are a lot of people who are school. And there are some kids in third world countries everywhere that would be so excited to get to go to school. And the difference between those is that people take what they have for granted, and it totally changes your mindset on everything.
At my school, I guess, when you do your homework and then someone asks to copy, and you're no, because that's not right, and then they're stop being so greedy with your answers. I mean, we're both gonna get a good grade, but I'm but I did the work, so why should you get credit? And they're you're just being self-centered. And I'm I want a good grade. It's not my fault you didn't do your homework.
Okay, relatable. But another way that I see it is I share my food at lunch a lot. But it's gotten to the point where people will go and just take it. I'll be sitting there and they'll reach for my chips. I'll be what? no, don't have my chips. Those are mine. And she's like, but you always share with everyone else. It's like, stop being greedy. It's not yours. It's mine. What if I don't want to share it with anyone today? Okay, let me live. And it's a problem.
This has been a great conversation. We needed to take a break, but before we go to break, I have one question to ask you. Hey, do you like the method? Let our listeners know. You're listening to The Method at Garland, real talk for real people.
SMU Perkins School of Theology is more than theological school. It's a community of men and women who want to improve the lives of others. Not only is Perkins one of the leading theological schools in North America, but it's a place that supported and nurtured me to serve with creativity, compassion, and urgency. There are several degree programs you can choose from. Not only can you get a Master's of Divinity from Perkins, but a Master's in Theological Studies, Master's of Arts and Ministry with several concentrations, a Master's in Sacred Music, and a Doctorate in Ministry or Pastoral Music. We are all called to be in ministry, but if you want help discerning your call in your life, dial 214-768-2138 or email your question to theology@smu.edu. Tell them MCCC sent you. This is Caroline Knoll, proud alumnus of Perkins School of Theology, and we're so glad that Perkins School of Theology supports the method. Real talk for real people.
If you're bored and looking for something to do on Wednesday night, come out to Wednesday Windows here at First United Methodist Church, Garland. We have weekly family dinner and programs for everyone in the family. Dinner is from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. $5 for adults, $3 for kids, and just $15 for the whole family. If you're a vegan, we have $5 salads for you. You don't have to worry about washing dishes, and you can have a good time with us. Come out to Wednesday Windows. We're at 801 West Avenue B, here in downtown Garland. We can't wait to see you. Let's make it happen. For more information, call 972-272-3471.
This do-it-yourself message is an offering from the staff and the crew of the Method. It's hard forgiving people for the injustice they cause in our lives, but only through forgiveness that the healing process can begin. Here are some suggestions on empowerment to begin the pathway to healing. Understand that the person that has wronged us may not ever apologize for the pain they caused. So don't wait for an apology to start the healing process. Look for positive ways to process what we have been through. Go to counseling. Take a painting or creative writing class. Start a new hobby. Finally, realize that the pain and anger will go away with time. Thank you for your support. You're listening to The Method, real talk for real people.
You know what that means? It's time to play This Is Not the $25,000 Pyramid. I see we got a contestant sitting with MCCC. Hello, your name, ma'am?
My name is Darla.
Nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Mount Ida, Arkansas.
I've not been there before. What is that near?
It's right outside of Hot Springs, near Hot Springs County.
Nice to meet you, Darla. Well, since you're here visiting with us today, is there anybody that you want to say a special hello to before we get started with our game?
Yeah, I'd like to say hello to my pigs, Zigzag, Honey, and Pumpkin. We call him Pumpkin because the pumpkin's right out the patch, and we listen to the Method on YouTube.
Is there anybody else you want to say hello to?
No, just my pigs, Zigzag, Honey, and Pumpkin.
Well, let's get started. The objective of this game is to name as many ways people can keep from being greedy. We've been talking about our obsession with obtaining material things, and this is just a fun way to learn some ways to be better. You'll have a minute to name as many as you can. We have MCCC from our studio audience to help you in your quest for success. Now, audience, please hold all applause to the end of the game so Ms. Darla can concentrate.
So I'm going to be the one to guess, Ethan? Am I going to be the one to guess?
When the timer music begins, you can start.
You don't need that bright, dazzling turquoise
What?
necklace. You don't need the brand new Ford with a $500
I don't know.
rebate.
What?
McDonald's special will really be there next
Don't buy
week.
everything you see on TV.
You could buy healthy groceries
What?
at the grocery store instead of all
What?
that junk food.
I'm not getting it.
You could get yourself a pair of nice walking shoes, go for a walk around the
say something
neighborhood. Maybe you do want to take a
Spend extra money on your health.
Correct.
Woo!
You could collect those clothes that you don't wear anymore. They're just still in really good shape, and you could donate them.
Recycle.
Yes.
You're getting the hang of this. You can just walk away when they start talking like that. You don't have to open that email in the middle of your meeting and get all upset and frustrated.
Don't care what people think.
Correct.
Come on, MCCC.
You can count your blessings. You can start thinking of all the things that you are thankful
This one's
for
hard.
instead of thinking of the things you don't have all the time.
Give me another clue. Hurry.
You can tell your friend how pretty their new dress is.
Don't be
without going
jealous
and
of
buying one for
others.
yourself.
Yes,
You
there's
got
only
it.
one more.
Maybe you're only going to check this twice a day instead of every time your phone buzzes in your pocket.
I got this. Limit your time on social media.
Yes, give Miss Darla a hand.
Give Miss Darla a hand.
This do-it-yourself message has been generously and responsibly accessible to you by the staff and the crew of The Method. The method to addressing greed is based on Holy Club question number 5. Am I a slave to dress, friends, work, or habits? So the staff and the crew have some advice that might help keep that in check. We need to try hard not to be jealous of others. That's hard, but wanting what others have sometimes can kindle greed. Second, we don't have to buy everything that we see on TV. And finally, we need to recycle as much as possible, but we need to be more mindful to get what we need more than what we want. Thanks for your support. You're listening to The Method at Garland. Real talk for real people.
Yeah, woo!
We are back for a finale segment, and we're going to get Randy and MCCC to tell us what the Bible says about greed.
Well, there are a lot of things that the Bible says about greed in a lot of different ways, and a lot of times it tells stories that show example of the trouble greed gets you into, where, there's a time when David was greedy for someone that he shouldn't have been greedy for. There is times where the Bible talks about, examples of things in our world that God takes care of. There's the part where the Bible says, think of the lilies in the field. They don't toil or worry or do any of that God provides for them. So, the Bible says a lot. There's so many different places the Bible talks about being content, being happy with what you have and not wanting more than you need. And trusting God, because greed at its very root is a lack of trust of God. Caroline, you got any other thoughts to add?
When I think about greed, I know sometimes it's just because we're being selfish and thinking of ourselves, but to me, a lot of times greed has to do with we're scared or we're worried that we're not going to have what we need in a certain situation. We're not going to have the right thing to wear. We're not going to be able to think of the right thing to say when the microphone is in our hand. We're not going to know the answer. We're not going to have something. It comes out of fear. And so I think this is the first place in the Bible that I ever read when I was about 15, and I thought, oh, God is talking to me in this passage. And it's from Luke 12:22. Randy referenced it with the lilies in the field. But it's the part where Jesus is talking to his disciples and saying, don't worry. Do not worry. Look at the birds of the air. They're not greedy. They're not storing up everything and getting all they can, but God feeds them. Look at the lilies of the field. They're grass that's going to be trampled underfoot and burned in the oven. And look how beautiful they are and how God takes care of them. And it all comes down to, if you worry, if you do all this worrying and storing and being greedy, is it change anything? Nope. Not going to change it. So focus on God, focus on those relationships, focus on the kingdom, and God's there. God is going to be there. Do not worry.
This was really a good show. What I learned today was that the animals and the nature around us, they're not greedy, and if people in our society weren't greedy like they were, we would probably be able to forge ahead and maybe help out those who aren't greedy but still need the help. It's been a great show. Take us home, MCCC.
Gotcha, Ethan. You've been listening to The Method at Garland. Real talk for real people. This episode of The Method has been presented by the youth and young adults of First United Methodist Church. If you want to make a difference in your community, you can do it by following the G Code. Do no harm, do as much good as you can, and love God and others. That's the United Methodist way, and guess what? It can be your way too. And remember, you are a blessing. This is your announcer, MCCC, Caroline Knoll, thanking you for your support and being down with the Method. The Method at Garland is an outreach ministry of First United Methodist Church and was recorded before a live audience.
Woo, yeah, woo.